Hello knitters, Faylin from Strands Knitting Studio in San Clemente, California. And today I have what's on my needles, a couple classes, new yarns, and we'll see what else. Stay tuned. Okay, let's start with what's on my needles. My Lavender Lake shawl. So I've got this whole part is done now. This pattern, this part of the shawl. Yep, it's so much fun. So this will be a class, and I'd call it like an advanced beginner, intermediate kind of class. The stitch isn't hard, and if you use your lifeline very strategically, like a lot, then you'll be fine. The hardest part of it is just taking it back out, and I just found a drop stitch. See this, it even happens to me. You see it? Can you see it? There it is. So it's right here. So I'm gonna pull on it and get it so it doesn't like want to come out. That's it. So what I do now is there's a couple ladders in here. Gosh, I don't know if I can get you to see this. Yep. There's a couple ladders like right here. Yeah, right here, there's a couple ladders. So I'll pick up those couple ladders and then I'll push the stitch into the back and I'll take a thread that matches and tack it down. That's how you fix something that's, you know, like there's no way I'm taking all that out for that one little stitch. You'll never know that anything was wrong with it. Matter of fact, I'll stick it back here to start with. You'll see that you really can't see it. You know, this happened to me once. Yeah. So that's it right there. So you can't even see it. So you don't have to take it out. That happened to me once. So I made my daughter-in-law a wedding veil. I'll put a picture up here. The biggest thing I've ever done, never do it again. It took months to do it. And it's out of a silk, and the needles weren't too small actually, but I had done it, and I'm like telling you, hours. And I only had a tiny little bit left to do, and I was in Pasadena. I took it up to my group, and my one girl, she had a big round table, so we laid it, because it's a circular shawl, we laid it all out on the table. We're like going, oh, we're standing around going, oh my God, it's amazing. And she looks down, she goes, Faylin, there's a drop stitch. How that was a miracle, because if I had not caught that at any point, it would have run, and then I've been totally messed up. So, but because it was just sort of sitting there, I was able to pin it and then tack it, and it's all good. But it does happen, even to me. So anyways, so I'm done with that part. And then okay, and then they did a garter ridge here where you just knitted, like I think it's 6 rows. And I'll put a picture close up of what it looks like. I didn't like the way it looked. I thought it was just too stark of a line after this beautiful, you know, stitch pattern. So I changed it to seed stitch, and I like it much better because it just sort of blends now. It just sticks out. So don't be afraid to do stuff like that. I mean, you know, doing it in garter or doing it in seed stitch, that's no big difference, you know, but I just really liked the way it looked better. And that looks much better to me. That looks much better. So don't be afraid to do things like that. You're the boss of your own knitting. You can do whatever you want. So then, yeah, so now I'm going to start on this zigzag stitch with this now, only this. This will be the only thing I'll be using for the last half of it, or a quarter of it. It's actually, this is over half. So yeah, so that's on my needle still, making good progress. Okay, so we got some yarn in that's really sort of very fun. So we got these in. I mean, so this is like black and burgundies and greens and purples. Sort of very Halloweenish actually. Yep. And then this is just rainbow fun. And then this is the pinks and the greens and golds and stuff. So this is actually an alpaca yarn. It's 56% wool, 14% acrylic. I mean alpaca, and then it has some acrylic stuff because all the baubles, all the little bauble things, that's gonna be acrylic. So, but the actual yarn itself is actually wool alpaca blend, so it's really soft and nice. So what do you do with this? kid stuff to start with. I mean, cutest hat ever, cutest scarf ever, cutest sweater ever. You know, a little girl's or this could be a little boy sweater, you know, and yeah. So a sweater would be adorable. But anything, yeah, a sweater for us, a cowl, a scarf, a headband, mitts would be sort of fun. But it's just sort of a fun thing. A bag would be fun. But this is just a fun thing to have, just play with and see. You know, I don't know if we're getting a sample in it at all, but I don't think we really need one because you can sort of see what it's going to do anyways. But yeah, could be really, really cute gifty thing for Christmas. Okay, classes. The first class I have coming up is the 24th, Sunday the 24th from 10 to 12. I think that got moved from 12 to 2. So it's 10 to 12 now, but the same day, just earlier. And this is that holo pattern, which is like a necktie thing. But as you saw last week, I liked it as a headband thing. You have total control over how big and wide this is because you start here and you go and then you decrease over to here. So you can get that, you know, anything, you can use anything. This is a DK. No, this is worsted, isn't this? This is, nope, they're calling it DK. So they're doing a DK. So any yarn works. The one we've got that this is made out of is an earth yarn, and it's 77 cotton and 23 linen. It's really nice. It's very, very nice. Of course, we have DK up here, top row of Dream is DK. We've got DK all over the store. So it doesn't have to be this cotton linen, but it could be. And we have lots of other cotton linen blends too that you could do it if you didn't like any of the colors that this one's coming in. So that is, so you'll just be learning a really cool technique here because the whole thing is knit except for when you're making the holes, and they're not hard. They're really not hard. really, they're not hard. So, but the whole thing is knit. So this is pretty, if you've been knitting a bit and you've knitted a few things, you could do this. You could totally do this. And so the sweater class is the next one coming up, which is August 30th from 12 to 2, which means it's a Saturday, August 30th. And so this is just our sweater class, and what I highlighted in last week and I highlight again this week, and it's lots of information in the newsletter if you got the newsletter, highlighting the rectangle sweater because anybody can knit that out of any kind of yarn, and then you can always add stitch definitions of some sort if you want to, or you could just knit a row, purl a row, and it makes a great top. It's just this perfect top. So that's what we're highlighting. Anybody can do that. It could be your very first sweater. It's the perfect very first garment because it's pretty foolproof. It's very foolproof. So that class is, and of course, if you're doing any other sweaters, you're welcome to come to class. Or starting any other sweaters, you're welcome to come to class. You just have to have your swatch. I'm repeating over and over. Cast on 30 stitches, knit a row, purl a row for about 3 inches. On the needle you think you want to use. If it's a pattern, then use what they use. If it's this rectangle scarf, it's the rectangle sweater. Start with what says on the ball band. On the ball band, it's going to give you an idea of what you want for the needle sizes. And I would pick the large, if it's a range, I'd pick the larger one. And then knit your sweatshirt. Now, if you think it's too tight, it's probably not going to be too loose. But if you think it's still, you'd like it a little bit looser stitch, then just go up a needle size and knit that. Just don't tear what you did out. Just continue with the new needle and knit another couple inches and then see how the fabric is. And I tend to push things until the fabric breaks down. Like it's too loose. This isn't at all what I want. It's too loose. So then I back down into my other needles that I like better. So you're just gauging for the way the fabric, for the fabric you want. Then we'll take the stitches per inch and your width that you want, because you've also brought a garment, a t-shirt, a sweater, a cardigan, anything you want that has the fit. And it's the width on this. The width is what's important because you'll be measuring for the length. So, but the width is what's important, and it needs to be a little. If it's totally fitting, then your drop may drop maybe that. It's not really going to drop. If you want more of a drop, then it needs to be a little bit wider than your body. Okay, like 4 inches. 6 inches, 8 inches. It just depends on how boxy you want it. But you're totally in control over this. And there is the option to start out larger and sort of taper in a little bit if you wanted to, so that it's, you know, larger at the hip and a little bit smaller up at top. That's all possible, easy possible. So that's the sweater class coming up on the 30th from 12 to 2. Okay, now the other thing I want to sort of talk about is the fact that we're technically moving into fall for the rest of the country. Not so much for us, we're just now moving into summer, but fall is heading. And so this is a really good time to stalk around on Ravelry, because a lot of great patterns come out in August, September, October that are really, you know, that's like the big push. And again in January for sweaters, for summers, I mean, not summer, but the winter sweaters and different kinds of sweaters and tops and stuff. So it's just really fun to just sort of keep an eye on what's coming up, because it's just fun. So if you go on Ravelry, go into patterns, you go to advanced search, and then there's a bunch of filters on your left-hand side. So you're just gonna keep clicking down the filters. It's for knitting. I want clothing. I wanna only use like a DK or worsted weight. I don't wanna get smaller than that. I want it to be a piece of cake, easy, medium, the difficulty level. So there's a bunch of filters, and you don't have to do all the filters. There's a ton of filters, but just the really basic ones that help hone in what you would be wanting to work on and what size needle you want to be on, because that's with gauge. You know, a DK worsted means you're not knitting teeny tiny stuff, but you could also go sport and fingering. There'll be a ton of sport and fingering, but you just have to realize you're on tiny needles, and therefore this sweater is going to take a while. But fine knitting on those needles, doing stuff on those needles is gorgeous. I mean, it really is gorgeous. But yeah, so I would go on Ravelry some and just go into patterns, and then go into advanced search, and play around with what's out there. You're going to start seeing holiday stuff now. So it's just really, really fun time to keep an eye on what's coming, because it's all these brand new things that everybody's been working on. You know, the designers have been working on, and they're going to start coming out now that we're close to fall for the rest of the country. All right, that's short and sweet. And yeah, come in, check out our new yarn, and check out what you want to do for the hollow class, sweater class. We got lots of options for everything. And so come in and play.